Wow, it is just beautiful today. Beautiful weather, beautiful trail. I really underestimated this section. I almost improvised and did something else on my way up here. And so far, I'm glad I stuck to my plan. Hey everyone, it is Friday, October the 19th, around 11 a.m. It's officially the fall season in the southeastern Appalachian Mountains. The weather today where I'm at, it's going to be 50s to a high of around 60, and you can probably tell behind me it is perfectly blue outside. Not a cloud in sight. Visibility should be amazing today. Temperatures are great. Maybe a little wind, but that's not an issue. The last month or so has been warmer than it should be for fall, but that's been the trend for the last decade or so with global warming. But this week, it cooled down dramatically with lows of 40s in Chapel Hill, and I'm sure it got down to the 30s in the mountains. And I really don't like the crowds on the roads or the trails to the most popular fall destinations. So I want to try something new today, hiking an area I haven't been to before, bag some new peaks. So today I'm hiking the Appalachian Trail from Indian Grave Gap on the North Carolina Tennessee border. This is just west of Interstate 26 and the Nolichucky River, which means I'm in the western Unaka Mountains, and I'm hiking the Appalachian Trail up to Beauty Spot and eventually up to Unaka Mountain and Pleasant Garden. So I should get some good views from Beauty Spot, which is a cleared bald on the Appalachian Trail. And there's supposed to be good views from Pleasant Garden, which is the Unaka Mountain Picnic Area and campground. And I'll also bag Unaka Mountain itself, which is forested, but it's a 5,000 foot peak, has over 1,000 feet of prominence. It's on multiple lists. And I've just never been to this area before. I'm excited to see what it has to offer. And so far, I'm really liking the AT. At this elevation, under 4,000 feet, it has a heath bald, shrubby, small hardwood tree character of much higher elevations. So let's go see what the southwestern Unaka Mountains have to offer. I want to follow up my intro segment with an apology. I think that my last 10 or 15 videos haven't been up to the quality I think they should be. And for the main reason, a lot of my clips are a lot shakier than I intend them to be. And that's for two reasons. One, I try to rewatch a lot of these segments, especially the intro and map and conclusion segments on my phone, and it's really hard to detect a lot of shakiness watching the phone screen. And then when I get home and I watch it on my laptop and on my TV when I'm editing, surprise, it's a lot shakier than what I could see on this 5-inch screen. Second reason is, even though I've been doing this for a few years, I keep forgetting two main principles. One, when I'm moving, especially when the camera is facing forward and not at me, there's too many things in the immediate area, especially when there's trees around, for the autofocus to focus on for more than a second or two. You don't really see that when the canopy is wide open, like on a bald or a craggy, rocky summit. But when you're in the trees, and I do this way too much, I'm walking through a tunnel of trees and it's just completely shaking constantly. And that's not because my hand is shaking. is because it can never focus properly. And then when I turn it around on myself like this, it also is shaky when I'm moving. And I think that it's more interesting to take a video when I'm moving than when I just stand still like this, but that adds to the shakiness. The other thing is, I never get these on the first take when I'm doing these long narrations, and my arm gets tired holding my camera out like this. So maybe I need to start lifting some weights for my arms and stop focusing on cardio in the gym, and that could help me. The one thing I'm not going to do in the near future is upgrade to a dedicated video camera like a lot of YouTubers do. That's quite an investment, and it's a new learning curve. And for the most part, my phone takes good videos. I just have to remember that I got to cut down on these shaky clips just to avoid those situations entirely. This section of the Appalachian Trail has been really beautiful so far, and never steep. Really loving it. Third thing I forgot to mention that also contributes to my video shakiness that I keep forgetting is I typically shoot my videos using the wide angle lens on my phone. My LG phone has both a regular and a wide angle lens, and whenever you shoot video on a phone, it always zooms in a little. So I always use the wide angle for a lot of stuff, but it is really bad for walking through the forest like this, and it is somewhat bad for the selfie clips, depending on the lighting and the canopy. But just to give you an example, I'm on the regular lens right now, and now I am in the wide angle, and it takes a little bit longer to autofocus, and when you're moving it becomes a little bit blurrier. This is Beauty Spot, a bald along the Appalachian Trail. Gotta say, at the moment it is underwhelming. The main reason is Beauty Spot is not actually the summit of this mountain, but it's on the southern slopes of the peak named Beauty Spot Northeast. And so it's gently sloped and not above the tree line at the moment. Came from the south down there, but there's a possibility there's a better view on the other side of that hill. I stopped at that point back there because I could hear people coming towards me. So I wanted to get a quick intro out of the way, and finally walked 100 feet or more. I would have seen that there's clearly a better view up ahead. So looking forward to checking that out. Damn, this is much better than I originally expected. I want to try to get some shots towards the southwest while I still have good sun, but I will be doing this as an out and back, so I will get views later in the afternoon. But I believe that this area right here, somewhere in there, is the Nolichucky River Gorge, which is the dividing line between the Unaka Mountains and the Bald Mountains. And I believe that the biggest peak right here with the double hump is Big Bald, and the pointy one in front of it is Little Bald. Might even do that Sunday. Looks amazing. This was actually my other option for the day. The remote Shelton Laurel backcountry area of the Bald Mountains. I think this is Devil Fork Gap, Green Ridge Knob, Gravel Knob. Somewhere over there is Big Fire Scald Knob and Camp Creek Bald. And then down there in the I-26 corridor is Irwin, Tennessee. and the Cumberland Plateau in Tennessee beyond. I'm gonna have to show you this incredible view towards the east, even in this bad sunlight, because I'm not sure how it's gonna look in the afternoon when I come back here. But I don't think I've ever gotten this angle before of the Black Mountains, and they look awesome. Freaking awesome. All this is the Black Mountains and the Great Craggy Mountains. The Nashville is somewhere down there. And I just can't recall a view where Silo Knob looks as pointy and prominent as it does right there. And you can just see that the Black Mountain Crest Trail climbs pretty steeply from the South Toe River, Burnsville area up to the crest, and just up and down, up and down, up and down. That's the Cane River watershed, and the Black Mountains just dwarf the Great Craggies. I do believe that this peak is Blackstock Knob, and then this is Craggy Dome. This is really incredible bald. Probably not going to narrate anything up here. Maybe on the way back I'll have it to myself. But straight ahead is the Peak Beauty Spot Northeast. There's the parking area if you basically want to cut this hike in half. And then the wide, broad peak with the blackish looking fir and spruce on top is Unaka Mountain.
It's been a while since we've been up here.
Earlier, while I was on Beauty Spot, I mistakenly identified a peak. I know it never happens, but I've already hiked around Beauty Spot Northeast, and I've been hiking along this overgrown grassy bald, and now I can say that this peak on the left of Unaka Mountain is actually the Pleasant Garden Unaka Mountain Campground area. So yeah, I was wrong, but getting some really cool views here of my eventual destinations. Got this really nice tree in the middle of this field, and looks like I still have a considerable climb of 500 to 600 feet or more up to the top of Unaka Mountain, but still a great view. Getting close to the summit of Unaka Mountain. I'm above 5,000 feet now, and actually kind of interesting encountering this tunnel of rhododendron when the mountain is known for its fir spruce forest. This actually would be a surprise candidate for seeing rhododendron blooms in June, considering how dense it is, although this may be mixed in with some mountain laurel. Shortly after that rhododendron tunnel, the forest just completely changed to this mixture of stunted hardwoods and a grassy understory. Really cool. The Appalachian Trail crosses the summit of Unaka Mountain right over here. It is a very flat summit. Haven't seen the USGS marker if there is one, but I know I've hit the highest points by just walking around. There are no views from up here, but this is nicknamed the Emerald Forest. There's an Emerald Forest trailhead connector to the Appalachian Trail somewhere off the Unaka Mountain Road. Really cool up here. This is 5,190 feet, and it's not the high point of anything, but it has, I think, around 1,400 feet of prominence, which makes it a ranked peak both for the Tennessee 4,500 list and the North Carolina 5,000 list. So it's a good peak to bag. And it's a little surprising, the forest you'll find up here. Lots of tall spruce and fir, and a really open, really spongy understory. And you can see why it's called the Emerald Forest, because of all the really green moss on the slopes here. And usually you'll see this kind of forest a little bit higher up, kind of like the 5,500 elevation that you'll see in the Smokies, the Great Balsams, and the Black Mountains. But because Unaka Mountain is basically the highest peak for 10 miles on each side of the Unaka Mountain crest, and it has huge drop-offs in the Tennessee, giving it severe western exposure, I imagine that's why we have this kind of forest up here. But the difference between this and the southern Appalachian spruce fir forest, which you see closer to 6,000 feet, are those trees are much smaller and thinner, and it's a lot denser, much tougher to bushwhack through. This kind of stuff, man, you could just walk around through this no problem. So I'm going to bust out the map here and show you what I've done so far and my overall plan for the trip. I brought two maps for this hike that cover the same area for the most part, but as you can see, the one on the right is ginormous and very unwieldy. The one on the left is your standard National Geographic map, and that's the size of most maps I've bought. And on the right is a National Forest Service map. The National Geographic map covers the South Holston and Watauga Lakes area, both for Cherokee and Pisgah National Forests in Tennessee and North Carolina. This map by the USDA covers both the Watauga and Unaka Ranger districts of Cherokee National Forest. On this side is the Unaka Ranger District where I'm at, and on the other side is the Watauga Ranger District. They're actually both the same topographic scale at 1 in 63,360. It's just this covers way more area than the other. So this is kind of tough to use on the trail because it's so freaking big. It's honestly, it's like 5 feet in length. But let me show you how it looks on this one first. I'm in this area. On this side is Pisgah National Forest, the Appalachian Ranger District. This is all the Unaka Ranger District in Cherokee National Forest. This is the Unaka Mountain Wilderness and the Unaka Mountain Scenic Area. And the Appalachian Trail is the yellow highlight following the state border. But the problem with this map is it's really tough to see the trails, as often is the case on some of the National Forest Service maps that are big like this. This is honestly a lot easier for road navigation, looking for campgrounds, that kind of stuff. So going over to the National Geographic map, I parked here at Indian Grave Gap, which is at the border on Tennessee Highway 395. And I think it kind of peters out into a forest road once it crosses. Oh, it becomes North Carolina Highway 197. Followed the green Appalachian Trail out of the gap, and beauty spot is that P right in the middle. Kept going. Touched the road a couple times around beauty spot gap,
and then face the toughest climb of the day, which is around 1,000 feet from Beauty Spot Gap up to the summit of Unaka Mountain. So on my return, I'm going to connect to the road using one of these side trails that I spotted and hike out to the P parking area where the Rattlesnake Ridge Trail begins. And that is both Pleasant Garden and the Unaka Mountain Campground. And there's supposed to be good views from Pleasant Garden. Then I'll return to the Appalachian Trail and back down to the highway. I forgot to point out in the last video the mountain ranges and where they start and begin in this area, which is, something I love doing. I'm pretty close to the southwestern end of the Unaka Mountains. The boundary is the Nolichucky River Gorge, and then everything to the southwest and south of the Nolichucky River are the Bald Mountains. The Unaka Mountains aren't a expansive range, but they do have a lot of high peaks. And due east, right here, are the Roan Highlands. So everything in this general vicinity are 5,000 to 6,000 feet. And then it's kind of unclear from all the books and maps I've looked at where the Unaka Mountains end, but it's usually the Doe and Elk River through the US 19E corridor. And then up here are considered the Cumberland Mountains around Watauga Lake. And then towards the northeast off of the map are the Iron Mountains around the border, and then the Amphibolite Mountains towards the east. I'm on my way to Pleasant Garden, following Unaka Mountain Road. This is not the route I wanted to take. There's some sort of side trail close to the summit of Unaka beside a decorated fir tree or spruce tree, just completely covered in like ornaments and sunglasses. Must be some special tradition. And it looked like a trail continued beyond that, but it basically ended. So now I have almost a mile on this forest road. On the plus side, it's only about 200 feet of elevation change to the top. Getting some good fall color on this road. Almost at 4,800 feet. When I got to that elevation on Unaka Mountain, mostly turned to evergreens, but on this southwest side, got these tall hardwoods that are all a nice light yellow. I wonder what the top is going to look like. Made it to Pleasant Garden around 3:15, and I'm actually looking at some of the old stone picnic tables. It seems like the Unaka Mountain Campground has been abandoned for many years now. There was no gate up here, no registry, no official like tent pads or anything. And I've actually been exploring some of the trails to the left within these shrubs, and I came across at least 3 or 4 more stone picnic tables just scattered throughout the woods there. Otherwise, somewhere around here is the high point of the Unaka Mountain Wilderness. And basically, this is a flat plateau on the west side of Unaka Mountain, around 50 feet. And even though it is abandoned, you could easily come and camp here and probably have it all to yourself. Some of the old picnic tables are on that side of the ridge, and then the Rattlesnake Ridge Trail begins right over there, diving into the Unaka Mountain Wilderness. Let me jump up on this very old stone wall
just show you the general view. As I suspected, the sun is gonna make these views progressively worse throughout the day, but the view towards the east of the Black Mountains is shaping up nicely, and I hope when I get back down to Beauty Spot it's going to be even clearer. See the large, pretty flat, rounded summit of Unaka Mountain. Most of the spruce and fir are on the west side, and the trail kind of plateaus up here above 4,800 feet, 4,700 feet. And I think I caught the road down here, and then you can see this is the drop down in a Beauty Spot Gap. That's a pretty good climb. Then that's the overgrown bald that I was on earlier, and that's Beauty Spot Northeast. I'm gonna bag that on the way back. That's a short bushwhack, and it's also a ranked Tennessee 4,500. This is probably gonna be the only view I'm gonna get a beauty spot. So even though the sun is killing me right now, you can see this small little grassy bald right there. And the best views are on the other side of that. And it's basically directly under Big Bald, which is pretty cool. And then the peaks of the Shelton Laurel backcountry around Gravel Knob and Big Fire Skull Knob. But I should get some more views on the way back. Back at Beauty Spot. Now I can basically see everything I've done today. That hump is actually Beauty Spot Northeast. And that is Pleasant Garden, Unaka Mountain Campground. See, the sun is strong in this direction. Looks really beautiful though. Rows and rows of peaks of the Bald, Newfound, and even Great Smoky Mountains in the distance. Got less sunlight ruining the view towards the east of the Black Mountains. And I thought I might be able to see Grandfather Mountain from here, but I can't really pick it out. And the Roan Highlands are right there behind the trees. I backtracked to get this open view of the northeastern Unaka Mountains. Really the only view you get of them all day. This is the Roan Mountain Massif. And when you're at Roan High Bluff, you're kind of looking directly at Unaka Mountain. In, what was it? I think it was June 2017. I hiked from Hughes Gap down here on the Appalachian Trail up to Bear Fence Mountain, maybe? Bear something. Up to Roan and beyond. And actually in the distance there, it looks like Hump Mountain. You kind of see the Bald on top. And maybe further behind that is either Snake or Elk Knob in the Amphibolytes. Having a hard time picking out some of these other ones. But they are part of the southern Unaka Mountains above Spruce Pine and the North Toe Valley. I'm thinking that Little Yellow Mountain is either this or this mountain, or maybe that mountain is Big Bald, because you can see that it kind of drops suddenly here, and that's a huge cliff called the Lookoff, which is basically the southern edge of the Unaka Mountains above Spruce Pine. And a lot of that's private land, mining company stuff, and some conservancy land. And unfortunately, I believe that Grandfather Mountain is directly behind this, so I'm not able to see it today. It is about 6 o'clock and I'm a few hundred feet from the parking area. I apologize if the sun right in my face is causing any weird shadows or glare. But that was a fantastic day of hiking. Really loved it, all 7 hours of it. Almost perfect weather. Could have used a little bit of wind when I was on those uphills to dry me out. I was being stubborn today and I never took off my t-shirt under my long sleeve shirt. But overall, mid-50s most of the time. Great visibility. Yesterday when I drew this on Caltopo, it was about 13 and a half miles. And I'm getting close to 14 on my GPS right now. So that includes a bushwhack up to Beauty Spot Northeast to bag that peak. And some rummaging back and forth around Pleasant Garden and Beauty Spot. The elevation gain's around 3,500 feet, which may surprise you. It's not as difficult as you would think, but definitely the climb in and out of Beauty Spot Gap both ways is by far the hardest part of this hike, especially the climb from Beauty Spot Gap to Unaka Mountain. Otherwise, most of the climbs are pretty moderate and there's a lot of steady ridgeline hiking. I think you would really enjoy it if you're up for a 13 to 14 mile day. And Beauty Spot just blew me away. That was a lot better than I expected. Really unique perspective of the Black Mountains that I hadn't seen before, and great views of Big Bald and the rest of the Bald Mountains. It's really nice to get back out and do a big long day hike. The past few months I've been pretty obsessed with a lot of peak bagging, and oftentimes that includes a lot of shorter hikes because high peaks in an area usually have forest roads or power lines, and some of the highest peaks don't have any trails, so there's a lot of 1, 2, 3 mile hikes, doing multiple in a day, getting back in the car, a lot of bushwhacking through some miserable weeds. You don't have that all day feeling of being out in the wild. And it was really nice to get on the very splendid Appalachian Trail, very good condition through this section, and just do a full day. And hopefully with good weather on Sunday, I'll get back out here and get some more amazing views in mid-October in North Carolina. So, see you guys next time, hopefully on October 21st.